Go ahead.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome. I would like to welcome you all to the discussion program of CIGA Student Society under the title of the Normalization of Relation between Arab States and Israel. So CIGA Student Society is the student platform that affiliated with the CIGA, Central for Islamic and Global Affairs, that located in Istanbul, exactly in Istanbul Sabahat in Zaim University. So we are usually doing some seminar and program regarding the issue of international affairs and Islamic war that happen currently. As you already know from our flyer, today we are talking about the normalization of relation between Israel and Arab states that a month ago happened between UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, and other states, happening in America with the help of mediates from President Donald Trump. The Arab states is planning to normalize their relation with the Israel. As for our speakers today is Dr. Jamal Abdullah, and currently Dr. Jamal Abdullah is the expert on Middle East studies. Currently, he is a visiting professor at the Department of Political Science at the University of Montreal in Canada, as well as a visiting scholar at the Montreal Center for International Studies at University of Montreal. He served as a senior research fellow at the Center for Middle East and Global Peace at the University UIN Jakarta in Indonesia from November until June 2019. He also worked as a professor during the first term of the last academic year at the Department of International Relations at the University of UIN Jakarta in Indonesia. Dr. Jamal was a visiting researcher at the Middle East Center in LSE, London School of Economics in the UK in November 2015. Also, Dr. Jamal published in both Arabic and English dozens of research paper, analysis, and book chapter during the last decade, and he participated in several international conferences. He also has some media contribution in Arabic, English, and French. So today we are very grateful to have our distinguished speaker joining us in this discussion. Inshallah, this discussion will include a 30 minutes
Connecting
of...
to audio. You did connect to audio.
This discussion will include 30 minutes of speech and explanation from Dr. Jamal itself, and then we will continue to the discussion and Q&A section and other comments from the participant that will answered by Dr. Jamal itself. Okay, without any further ado, I would like to welcome and join Dr. Jamal to the floor. So, Dr. Jamal, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm saying good morning because I'm based in Montreal, as Salman mentioned. So it's the morning here. It's 9 a.m. So good afternoon if you are based in Istanbul and otherwhere else. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for the Center for Islam and Global Affairs. Thank you for Ali, for Salman, for Dilek. I don't know if Dilek is here or not yet. Dilek is the person who played the role of mediator between me and CIGA. So thanks a lot. So today I'm with you actually to share with you some thoughts, some reflection, and some comments if you want. It's a kind of discussion, it's not lecture. So I would like to share with you some thoughts, and then After my presentation or my intervention, I would like also to have your feedback and your comments, your questions, if you wish. So it will be more reactive to have discussion. Okay, so I would like please to ask you if you can put your mic on mute, mode mute, and to those can activate the camera. It's more pleasant for the speaker to see the faces of the participant. So please activate your camera if you can. Thank you. So today we will try to talk about this topic related to the agreements have been signed 3 weeks ago. I would say on 15th of September between two of Gulf state region. I mean, United Arab Emirates and Bahrain from one side and Israel from the other side in Washington, D.C., and presence of President Trump in the White House. So the media actually called this agreement as, or described this agreement as a peace agreement. But I cannot say that it's a peace agreement because there's no war status between United Arab Emirates and Bahrain before that. So it's, for me, it's a kind of normalization of relationship between two parties, and even it's kind of formalization of this relationship, because we all know that there was kind of relationship between some Gulf states and Israel before this date, and more specifically since 2010, 2011, when the Arab Spring started in some Arab countries like as Tunisia, Syria, Yemen, Libya, and Egypt. So before I arrive to this topic, actually, we have to understand what's happened. What is the context of the region now? And I would like to share with you some thoughts from my expertise, from my experience I had, and I got during the years I worked on the Gulf issues, especially the foreign policy of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and the long time, more than 20 years I spent in the region of the Gulf. So we have to know, first of all, that we are passing right now a period of what my colleague Professor Abdul Khaliq Abdullah called it in his book, The Moment of the Gulf. The Moment of the Gulf, or the Gulf era. So since 2010, 2011, 3 capitals in the region, in the Gulf region, and I'm talking here about Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, and Doha. So the 3 capitals of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, they continue actually playing a significant role in what's happening in the region, especially in the Arab world. We know that the huge and big capitals in the Arab world, like as Baghdad in Iraq, Damascus in Syria, Alger or Algeria in Algeria, these big countries, they had a lot of trouble and struggle during the last years. Iraq since 2003, Syria since 2011, and even Algeria, as we can consider it from the MENA region, MENA and I mean Middle East and North Africa region, and play a very significant role. They have also their own problem. So these problems in these countries create a kind of vacuum, in the region, and this vacuum actually has been filled in by these 3 capitals: Riyadh, Qatar, Riyadh, Doha, and Abu Dhabi since 2010, 2011. So now, if you come back to, let's talk about social media if you want. If you come back to YouTube, since 2011 until maybe now, until 2019, 2020, you can find a lot of YouTubes present the leaders or some leaders of the Gulf region, especially Saudi leaders, Emirati leaders, and Qatari leaders, who took actually the role or play the role of leaders of the Arab world, because there is a kind of vacuum. We don't have the role of Egypt here. We don't have the role of Syria. We don't have the role of Baghdad, of Iraq. We don't have the role of Algeria. So these small countries, or what Dr. Abdullah Nefesi from Kuwait called them, this actually those mini states, like as United Arab Emirates and Qatar, try to fill in this vacuum and to play this role. And that's why when the Arab Spring started in 2000, at the end of 2010 and 2011, beginning of 2011, we saw that the former Prime Minister of Qatar and former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Qatar, Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabir Al Thani, played a significant role in the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, as well as within the Arab League in Cairo. And we thought when he's actually, if we watch Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabir talk, we thought that he is the Secretary General of Arab State, League of Arab State, or he is the Secretary General of GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council. But in fact, he is the Prime Minister of Qatar. But the role that Qatar played that time was very strong and very significant. Abdullah bin Zayed as well, the Foreign Minister of United Arab Emirates, played the same role. I mean, he was a very strong personality during that time. At the meantime, King Salman came to the power in January 2015. So here we have a new leader in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the most important thing happened in Saudi Arabia, that the third generation came to the power, or arrived to the power, when King Salman decided to nominate his son, Mohammed bin Salman, as Minister of Defense. And a few months ago, or 2 years ago actually, in 2017, he nominated his son as Crown Prince. So this third generation, I'm talking here about third generation in Saudi Arabia, because as you know, Saudi Arabia has been created, the third Royaume in Saudi Arabia has been created in 1932. And since 1932 until now, we have just the founder of Saudi Arabia, King Abdulaziz, and then we had actually his sons. His son started by King Saud, then King Faisal, then King Khalid, then King Fahd, King Abdullah, and we arrived to King Salman. Of course, after King Salman, if Saudi would like to respect their own what they call it, al-nizam al-asasi, that means the like as constitution of Saudi Arabia, normally after King Salman, his brother should take the power after him. But King Salman decided to integrate the third generation in the power. So coming to the power, Mohammed bin Salman, who is the real governor of Saudi Arabia now, okay, changed the geopolitics in the region, I believe, you know. And just 2 months after Mohammed bin Salman came to the power, he declared the war in Yemen. We know the war in Yemen since March 2015 until now is continuing. And this military operation, they call it, I think they call it Asif al-Sahara. This is a storm, still continue until now. So Saudi Arabia here with King Salman and his son Mohammed bin Salman tried to fill the power, to fill this power that Egypt, Iraq, and Syria left. So Saudi Arabia came back to the power once again. So I try to put you in the context what's happening in the Gulf region, in the MENA region, in the Middle East and Arab world since 2010 until today, to understand what happened, why United Arab Emirates and why Bahrain decided to sign an agreement of peace or an agreement of normalization of relationship with Israel now, after about 1 decade or 10 years from the beginning of the Arab Spring. So if we would like to talk about this event, signing or this agreement, so we have to look at this agreement, I believe, like, as if I would like to talk about that, I would like to talk as a researcher, as academic, as and I will not give my opinion here, because we have to be objective. So if we talk about this event, we have to look at this event from 2 or 3 sides, or 2 or 3 aspects, or 2 or 3 angles. One of them is related to the international law. Number one, we can look at this event from the international law eye. So from the international law eye, United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and any other country in the world have all the right to sign an agreement of peace or an agreement with normalization with any countries, with Israel or with any countries. This is what the Chart of United Nations said. This is what the Convention of Vienna of 1961 related to the diplomatic relationship between countries say. So the article number 2 from this convention, Vienna Convention of 1961, gave the right to any country to create a relationship, diplomatic relationship with other country. So this is what the international law say, okay? We are talking about law now, so we'll continue a little bit with law. Alors, so at the same time, United Arab Emirates, they have a system, it's a monarchy, but at the same time, it's like as federal. It's the single state in the Arab world that have this political system. It's a federal of 7 emirates. They are, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Ajman, Sharjah, Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah, Al Fujairah. So, United Arab Emirates has a law number 15 of 1972. This law, it's related to boycott all relationship with Israel. So, the first thing they did actually, after they decided to normalize the relationship with Israel, they create a new law. It's law number 4. Just created on 29th of August last month, about maybe 1 month and a half ago. They created a law number 4, to cancel the law number 15 of 1972, which put an X, if you want, or to stop any relationship with Israel. So they are trying to adapt their laws with the new status, if you want, in the region. Now, continuing talking about the law also, we'll take now another side of this law. I believe you all know that United Arab Emirates, it's part of the Arab League, and it's part of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation based in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and it's part of GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council. So this 3 regional and international organization, they also have some, if you want, some charts or their own articles based on cut every relationship between the Arab countries and Israel. And we know also that in 2002, King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia presented a document in the summit of Arab League in Beirut, in Lebanon, in 2002. And if I remember the date exactly, it was in the end of March 2002, maybe 28 or 29 March. And this document, or they call it actually that time the initiative, the Arab Initiative, suggest to make or to create or to build a kind of peace between the Arab world. When I talk about the Arab world, I'm talking here about 22 states in the Arab world who are members of the Arab League in Cairo. So to create or to build a peace between this 22 Arab states and Israel. But this initiative is based on a principle which is peace against the ground, if you want. I mean, if Israel give back the ground occupied, Palestinian ground occupied to Palestinian people, so in this case, the Arab world will sign a peace agreement with Israel. If Israel accepts that the refugees, according to the resolutions of United Nations 181, 242, 338, and 192, according to these resolutions, accept that refugees, Palestinian refugees, come back to their own place or countries, Palestine, so then they can accept to create a peace with Israel. If Israel also accepts that Jerusalem could be Jerusalem Est could be the capital of Palestine or Palestinian people, so they also can accept to sign agreement peace. So Emirates and Bahrain are part of this initiative. So when Bahrain and Emirates decided to sign alone, if you want, this kind of agreement with Israel last month, that means that Emirates and Bahrain actually they don't respect what they are part of. So this is also can raise the questions here regarding the law and the international law, etc. Now we are talking. We talked about the law. Now let's talk about another aspect or another angle in this agreement. It's related to the religion agreement, if you want, because we saw that we have two sides, two camps, two groups of religious people who support. One group support this agreement, and they even some of them did a kind of fatwa to support this agreement. Some of them came back to the era of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, etc., and mentioned that even that time when Muhammad was in Medina, he signed a kind of peace agreement with Jewish people, Jewish tribes who were living there in Medina. On the other side, we had also another group of religious people who created kind of fatwa also to say that this kind of agreements with Israel is haram. We cannot sign an agreement with Israel. So even the religion here introduced in this affairs. So last thing about this agreement also. So we talk about the law, we talk about the religion, and now let's talk about the people in the street, if you want, in the Arab world. So we noticed that the majority of people in the Arab world, they are against this agreements, especially in Palestine and in other Arab worlds, except the countries signed the agreement. But if we look at Bahrain, for example, because as you know, Bahrain, majority of people living in Bahrain, they are the majority, they are Shia, and the media shows us that a lot of them, they are against this agreement. Okay, so let me end my intervention here by telling you something about the timing of this agreement. Why now United Arab Emirates and Bahrain decided to to sign this this agreement. And on the other hand, when Salman a few minutes ago actually did his and when he introduced me, he mentioned that some countries like United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait signed with Israel an agreement of peace. So Kuwait is not included actually, and the question is, if we think, or do we think that other countries from the region, Gulf region, or maybe other countries in the Arab world, or maybe in Africa, in Asia, Muslim countries will join United Arab Emirates and Bahrain by signing an agreement of peace, of normalization with Israel? So first question, why now? Why these two countries decided to sign now? So I believe it's related to the many factors, if you want. One important of these factors is related to the election, presidential election in United States. We know that on the 3rd of November, that means after 2-3 weeks maybe, the presidential election will take place in United States, and it's between this election between Democratic and the other camp, and I think that United Arab Emirates, in signing actually this agreement now, it's a kind of pushing the position of Trump and regarding his candidate, if you want to continue or to renew his mandate as the leader of United States of America, as the leader of White House in Washington, D.C. So this is one. Second, you know also that the leaders in the region, especially in the Gulf region, they think a lot about who will be the next president of the United States, because you know this kind of relationship between the Gulf states and United States of America's a kind of alliance, very strong alliances. So they would like to know who will be the new president. So if Biden comes to the power, that means maybe some politics will be changed. But if we sign an agreement with Israel, and if Israel as very closed and very aligned also to United States, so even the new president, if Biden arrived to the power, so even the new president Biden, for example, so if there's any kind of changing the politics vis-a-vis the Gulf states, we will not be affected, because we already signed with Israel, and Israel is very close to United States. So this is a point very important. Another point is important also related to Israel. You know that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, also passed, actually now, currently he is passing a very strong and hard time regarding the economy, regarding of his country, regarding the corruption he is facing now in the courts in Israel. So this agreement maybe gives him also kind of stability and put him in a solid position. Okay, so coming back to other countries who could maybe join United Arab Emirates or Bahrain and sign with an agreement with Israel in the coming days, weeks, or months. Well, I believe yes, some of Arab countries, maybe from the Gulf also. Let's talk about Oman. It's not secret. Oman has good relation with Israel. Oman welcomed and received Benjamin Netanyahu in the end of 2018, when Sultan Qaboos was in power that time. We know that Muscat, capital of Oman, also hosted a bureau, office of commerce of the state of Israel from 1996 to 2000, even to 2000, in the end of 2008, 2009 maybe. Qatar also uh, hosted a Bureau of Commerce of Israel from 1996 until 2009. So some of countries like the Gulf region could sign an agreement of peace or agreement of normalization with Israel, but when we cannot say when. It depends of the interior political of these countries. We know that in Oman, for example, now we have a new sultan, and normally when a new leader comes to the power, the priority of him is the interior issues and not the foreign policy. So that's why the new Sultan Haytham bin Tariq came to the power a few months ago. So I think he will take 1 year or 2 years, maybe even, to make his power solid inside Oman, and then he will give maybe a push of his foreign policy in the level, international level. Other countries like as Kuwait and Qatar, I don't believe that will take place of these agreements, at least in the short term. Uh, Qatar has relationship with Israel, and it's not secret. We know that Qatar send every month, and send money and support people in Gaza. And this money cannot be accepted to enter to Gaza without a permission from Israeli authorities. So they have this kind of relationship, even at least to discuss, to negotiate some issues in favor of Palestinian people. Okay. Talking about Kuwait, I don't think Kuwait will take part of this agreement because Kuwait is the single country in the Gulf region and in the GCC uh, which has a real parliament. So I don't think that the government of Kuwait can adopt a decision and take decision to sign an agreement with Israel without having um, a green light from the parliament in Kuwait, and it's very far that the parliament of Kuwait gives this green light to the government. I have a lot of things to say here, but maybe it's better to stop here and to open the. I talk maybe 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes to have the Q&A session, and I will be happy to have your comments, your questions, and make it more active or reactive. Thank you very much.
Uh, you are welcome. And once again, thank you very much, Dr. Jamal, for your talk on the this peace agreement. So they call for the normalization of relation between Arab states and Israel. So we are now would like to start the discussion and Q&A section, which I hope the other participants will join this discussion and Q&A section. So if there is a comment on our question regarding to the discussion that we had already, please uh, write it on the chat section. You can find it on the bottom of your application. There is a chat section. So you can write your answer, you can write your question, comments, anything you want to say regarding to this discussion.
Well,
Uh,
Salman, excuse me, if you
yes.
allow me, I would prefer that participant ask their question directly, so they can take
Okay. Okay.
yes, it's better to hear it's also people because they all hidden faces. I don't know why, by the way. So at least they can take the mic and ask questions if they have any question, if they
Okay.
wish.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes. So as requested by the speakers, for you that have a question or comment regarding to the discussion that we had, please open your camera, unmute your mic, and you can ask the question or comment directly to the Dr. Jamal. Uh, uh, I think I will start by myself. Uh, First, I am very grateful that you share your talk on the normalization between Arab states and the Israel. And I would like to ask the question about the terminology behind the word of normalization of relation as an expertise of international relation yourself, what will what the meaning or the terminology behind the word of normalization, and what make it different after this normalization occur? Because in fact, some Arab states or Gulf country, they have been in the same page, in the same bed with the Israel on this Palestinian cause. So yes, I would like to understand deeper about this terminology and what the impact of this normalization of between
Well,
Arab states.
okay, thank you very much, Salman, for your question. It's one point that I should mention here, and it's a good idea that it came through and question. So, as you mentioned, other countries like as Egypt and Jordany, Jordan signed an agreement, a peace agreement with Israel in 1994. And Egypt signed also an agreement with Israel, a peace agreement with Israel in 1979. But the difference between these two agreements and the agreement signed last month between United Arab Emirates and Israel, and between Bahrain and Israel as well, that the first one between Egypt and Jordany, it's just to create a kind of diplomatic relationship. And you know that Egypt and Jordan, they have a borders with Israel. And before signing this agreement, they had a war status between them and between two parties. On the other hand, between United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and Israel, they don't have this war status. There is no war. By the way, never ever United Arab Emirates and Bahrain participated in the four main wars between Arab and Israel. We know that there are four main wars. The first one was in 1948, the second one in 1956, and the third one in 1976, and the last one in 1973. After that, there are some wars also, especially in 82, when Israel invaded Beirut in Lebanon, and in 2006 when also Israel attacked Lebanon and others. But the main are these four. I think the second I mentioned, it's in 1956, when three countries, Israel, France, and UK, attacked Egypt, when the Egyptian president Jamal Abdel Nasser decided to decolonize Canal of Suez. So this one thing. The second point is, when we look at this agreement signed last month between two Arab countries or two Gulf countries and Israel, it's more than peace. It's more than normalization. It's more than formalization of this relationship. For me, I can read it like as creating a new order in the Gulf region, like as creating a new alliance, a new coalition between these countries and Israel. This agreement, they also already started, for example, to develop a relationship related to technology, related to health, related to education, to defense, to intelligence, to energy, etc., etc. So maybe after a few weeks, after a few months, we will see that United Arab Emirates or Bahrain will invite some troops, Israeli troops, to the Gulf region, and maybe we can see a military base in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi or in Manama after a few weeks or few months. And we can imagine, if that happened after a few weeks or few months, what is what will be the reaction of Iran when Iran, which is based just a few kilometers from Bahrain or from Abu Dhabi, see that there are some troops, Israeli troops, on the other river of the Gulf, what will be its own reaction? So this is the main 2 points I believe we can find if we compare between the 2 agreements signed before between Egypt and Jordan, and now the 2 agreements signed between Emirates and Bahrain from one side and Israel from that side.
Okay, great. Thanks for the answer. Are you done answering, right? Okay. As you mentioned before that the Egypt had signed a peace in 1979 with the Israel under the regime of Anwar Sadat. I think in 1950s, Arab League instituted a joint defense and economic cooperation which further resolved expel any Arab states that formalized ties with Israel, whether economic, political, and military. So when the Egypt in 1979 under Anwar Sadat signed a deal with Israel, Egypt was exiled and suspended from Arab League until 1987, I guess. 1989. Do you think the same result will occur in this development regarding that the Arab League itself that has the Arab League itself that play a role in this normalization between Israel?
Well, not at all. So you are totally right. Just for memory, if you want, the Arab League has been created in 1945 after the end of the Second World War, and 6 years after that, more specifically in 1951, the Arab League created a bureau. It's called the Bureau of Boycott Bureau. It's especially this bureau or this office based in the headquarters, the head office of League Arab States in Cairo. It's to control the boycott of all goods between Arab states and Israel. So there is a main bureau actually in Cairo, in the heart of the League of Arab States. But at the same time, there are 22 bureaus in 22 capitals in the Arab world. That means there is a bureau also in Abu Dhabi, and there's a bureau in Manama. It's a liaison bureau, if you want, between Cairo and Manama, and between Abu Dhabi and Manama. So that time, the League of Arab States was very straight regarding the position of Egypt when the regime of Anwar Sadat, of President Anwar Sadat, decided to sign this peace agreement with Israel. And as you mentioned, Egypt was excluded from the Arab League for about 10 or 11 years. And even the head offices of League of Arab States has been moved from Cairo to Tunis, in Tunisia, you know. So at this time, when these two countries, Emirates and Bahrain, signed the agreement, the Palestinian Authority, asked the Secretary General of Arab League to organize a meeting in Cairo, and they also, the Palestinian tried to pass a declaration to condemn this agreements, and they did not win this decision, or they did not arrive to do that, and that's why I believe, for at the moment, the Arab world, not just the Arab world, the Arab League or the League of Arab States, the GCC Gulf Cooperation Council, as well as the Organization of Islamic Cooperation or Islamic Conference, they are not talking regarding this question. We did not hear any declaration from any responsible within this three organization or the Secretary General of one of them to support this agreement or to condemn this agreement. We did not hear anything, like as it's nothing happened. So it's quite bizarre, but this is what happened.
Okay. Yes. So, Dr. Jamal, there is a question from one of the participants that I think
Wait, who is the participant?
he just writes on the chat section.
What's his name?
She just write on the chat section.
Nabila? Nabila, go ahead.
University.
Nabila is here, I think. So Nabila can ask her question. Please, Nabila, go ahead with your question, please.
Please, Nabila, you can unmute your microphone and open your camera and ask the question directly to Dr. Jamal.
Without camera, Nabila. If you don't want to activate your camera,
Okay,
just your voice is okay. Go ahead.
Okay, please, Nabila. I think
if there's no discussion, wait, Salman, please.
Okay.
If there's no discussion, if you don't want to take the mic and to ask you questions or do your comments, the discussion will be not fruitful, I believe. So please go ahead and ask your questions.
Okay.
Can I have a question, please?
Yeah,
go ahead. Who is talking?
Okay. Nabila here.
Yeah, Nabila. Good morning, Nabila. Good afternoon,
Good
Nabila.
morning, Mr. Jamal and Mr. Salman. First of all, this is a really interesting topic for me, and I'm kind of new with this relations between Arab state and Israel. So my question is so basic, actually. What is the advantage for both of the sides for this peace agreement? I mean, of course, they have advantage in economy or in politics, but I want the details. That's my questions.
Excellent question. Thank you very much, Nabila.
Thank you.
And I will be more than happy to respond to your question. So, and what I will say now, it's based on my experience, and it's based also on one of the most brilliant and experienced professor and researcher in the Gulf region mentioned in some of his interviews on Al Jazeera and on Al Khalijiya, on NBC, in BBC. He was invited many times, and he mentioned this issue is very important, and I think will be as response to your question. His name is Abdullah Nefesi from Kuwait. So actually, there are two couple of benefits from Israel. Let's talk about Israel first of all. You know, Israel is a small state, and there are not a lot of resources for energy in Israel. So they also based, like as other countries in Asia and Europe, on petrol and on gas. They need to petrol and gas, and they import that from outside, from abroad. And like as there's no relationship between Israel and Arab states, especially between Israel and Gulf states, who are, by the way, very rich in these resources. So Israel, at the moment, import these resources from far away. Okay. Now we have also to know that the petrol in United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the gas in Qatar, for example, it's not cost a lot. If we compare, I published a piece on 2013, and I compared between the petrol we have or we export from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and the one we have exported from United States, for example, because the United States also have a lot of gas and petrol, shale gas. We call it shale gas or shale petrol. So the cost is the following: in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the cost of barrel is $7, $7 US, because the petrol is not so far from the ground. On the other hand, the cost of the barrel of petrol in United States is $73 US. Sometimes it's $79 US, because the petrol is so far in the depth of the earth in United States, and it's a shell petrol. It's not natural petrol. So I think one of the first advantage for Israel now, when it signed this kind of agreement, that it will have access, if you want, to this petrol, and it will cost it cheaper than if it's exported from far away. So it's very important, number one. Number two, to those who know the Gulf region and the Gulf community and the Gulf society, to those who live there, they know very well that the Gulf society, they how can I say that? They consume a lot. That means they buy a lot, and they want to consume, etc., etc. So I think now, if when they signed, the both parties signed this agreement, now the market of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Manama and maybe Muscat after a few months or few weeks, or other countries, maybe Doha, maybe Kuwait, maybe Riyadh. Until now, we did not talk about Saudi Arabia. I would like someone to ask a question about Saudi Arabia regarding this, the position of Saudi Arabia from this agreement. So I believe that these markets in the Gulf states will be open for the goods, the Israeli goods, because it's very good markets. So this is number two regarding the economy, as you mentioned, Nabila. And regarding United Arab Emirates, the more benefit for it, they need to invest in intelligence and in energy issues and in technology. And Israel is very advanced, actually, in this kind of technology, of intelligence issues, of science, etc. So they will have this kind of cooperation. Last thing is very important. Or maybe before the last one. Israel would like also to put foods in the region, in the Gulf region. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, maybe after a few weeks, few months, we will see that there's a kind of Israeli military troop in the Gulf region. Maybe we'll see a military base, Israeli military base in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi or Manama. So if Israel arrives to do that, or to do so, it will be very attractive, and very, I mean, the tension in the region will be very high, because Iran will not stop saying anything, not saying anything. Last point I would like here to mention, and it's very important, because when we analyze the situation in international relations, we should also to do a kind of link between other things. So let's look about the proposal, the peace proposal that Trump's administration suggested on 28th of January this year. All the world talk about this proposal of the peace. Even we call it we call it the proposal of peace of the century. You know, so one of the things that this proposal based on is to eliminate the right of Palestinian refugees to come back to their own land. We know we have 14 million Palestinians, 7 million inside and 7 million outside. Inside, we have 2 million Palestinian in Israel. We call it the Arab Israeli. They are Palestinian, but they have the passport Israeli, if you want. So we have 2 million. We have 2 million in Gaza, and we have 3 million in Cisjordania or West Bank. On the other hand, we have also 7 million refugees outside of Palestine, especially in the region, in the Arab worlds, in Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, Iraq, and Jordani, and maybe 2 million, 5 million there, and 2 million in Europe and in North America. So the American administration would like to eliminate the right of these people, these refugees, 7 million, to come back to Palestine. So it's possible that Israel ask these countries, I'm talking here about the Gulf countries, it's possible to ask these countries to accept these refugees and to give these refugees the papers, I mean the nationality, for example, because as you know, they have a lot of lands, free lands, especially in Saudi Arabia, for example. So this is one of the technical issues that probably Israel will ask these countries to do in the future. I hope that I answered your question, Nabila.
Okay, thank you so much. It's really good answer. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Please.
Thank you. I believe that Ihab Fathi want to ask question as well.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
Yes. But now currently I have seen a lot of motions and also motives that this actually the signing normalization is motivated by many interests from both sides, from Israel, Bahrain, and also from United Arab Emirates. But now, what is the main causes of United Arab Emirates and so the Bahrain they want to decide to sign the normalization between them and also Israel? Because I think that first of all, the main reason because is they have a certain sovereignty to decide this signing. That's the important one. But how other organizations like Arab Leagues and also Organization of Islamic Cooperation to like what is it? How we call it? It's like make a freedom and so peace in that region, because I see that there's no main role of those two organizations like Arab Leagues and also Organization of Islamic Organizations. Thank you very much.
I think Ihab who asked the question, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, I totally agree with you, Ihab, and I mentioned that in my intervention that I totally agree with you. Nobody talk about this agreements. Nobody support or condemn these agreements from League of Arab States or Organization of Islamic Cooperation. We know that these two countries actually they are part of this. They are member. They are member in these two organizations, international and regional organizations. But nobody. Maybe I'm not here to defend these two organizations, but it's possible that one item, one article from the chart of the Arab League or the chart of OIC mentioned that each country, as you mentioned, has all the right, has all the right, like as the sovereignty to do what it would like to do. And if this two organizations, for example, I would like to also to add the GCC, do something or say something, it will be like as interfering in the interior issues, and this is not acceptable even from the point of view of United Nations and the Charter of United Nations signed in San Francisco in 1945. So yeah, this is my answer. But I totally agree with you. It's not normal that we don't hear any reaction from this regional and international organization. Yeah, thank you. Other questions, maybe?
And ask and or comment regarding this discussion you had. Or I guess, Dr. Jamal, I will ask, I will touch a little bit on the topic of Palestinian people. So, do you think when this normalization between Arab states and Israel occurred, do you think this development will stop Israel from annexation of Palestinian land?
As mentioned, actually, in this agreement, it's kind of suspend. I mean, not stop for every time, or for a long time, or forever, but it's suspend. And even the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he declared that they will suspend that for a while, maybe for 1 year. I even heard that the ambassador of United States in Israel declared that the Prime Minister of Israel will suspend this decision for 1 year or maybe 2 years, like as he said. But I don't think that it will be stopped forever, because the 30% that Israel would like to annex from the West Bank, it's related to the proposal, peace proposal presented by Trump's administration last January. So they would like actually to take this 30% of West Bank to make the state of Palestine that they imagine within the state of Israel. That means a state without any borders with with other countries. And so yeah, so they will stop it for a while, but not for forever, they mentioned, I believe.
Yes, and that's exactly how I see it. When they call this normalization as a peace agreement, so how can there is a peace agreement when the right of Palestinian people is always denied and their land is always annexed from Israel? I mean,
Well, the official position of Palestinian people, and well, let you something. Last summer, we had here at University of Montreal something we call it summer school. It's courses organized by University of Montreal for students in master degree in political science, and I personally organized a course on geopolitics of the Arab world and the Gulf region. And one of my guests in this course, actually, as speaker, was Mr. Saeb Ariqat, who is the Secretary General of OLP, and who is one of the leaders of the Palestinian Authority. And my students and myself, actually, we asked Mr. Saeb Ariqat this question, and his response was clear. His response was that they don't believe that this agreement between some countries, because that time this agreement was not official, if you want, but we talk about potential, maybe agreement between some countries and some countries from Arab world and Israel. And he mentioned that he doesn't actually think that any kind of agreement of peace between Arab countries and Israel will help the Palestinian question. And regarding the annexation, the annex some
annexation.
Yes, of this ground, Palestinian ground. His intervention was on the 1st of July. This date, if you remember, the 1st of July was the date of that Israel decided to annex 30% of west of bank, but they decided to stop it there because at that time there was probably negotiation between United Arab Emirates and Israel regarding this one, this agreement signed on 15th of September, because one of the items or articles of this agreement that Israel suspend the annexation of 30% of this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have one question more?
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So first of all, that you said that Bahrain and also Emirates, they are against the principle of Arab Initiative, which is signed in 1972, if I'm wrong. So,
No, no,
uh, w-
it's signed the Arab Initiative in 2002.
oh yes, 2002. So,
Yeah.
so what the Arab Emirates, also Bahrain, get after this disobedience against this principle? Because we see that Arab Emirates and also Bahrain, they are doing like disobedience and disobeyed this principle. So
Well, yeah.
yes,
Well,
yes. Thank you very
my,
much.
my answer, Ihab, now,
Yes.
when United Arab Emirates and Bahrain signed this agreement, so they are not part of this initiative, Arab Initiative.
Oh.
By the way, this Arab Initiative, as I mentioned, it was presented by King Abdullah. At that time, he was the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and until now, and even after these two countries signed the agreement with Israel, the official position of Saudi Arabia, presented by King Salman, that Saudi Arabia still until now, based on the Arab Initiative presented in 2002. So these two countries now, they are not part of this initiative, as they did not respect this initiative. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So now I believe that other countries, like, as maybe as I mentioned, like as Oman, maybe Sudan also, there's some talk that maybe can join Emirates and Bahrain also and sign with Israel in the coming weeks or months before the end of this year. Maybe we will have some other surprise. Other countries will sign also. We don't think about from maybe not from the Arab world, but from the Muslim world. If we look at Africa or Asia, everything is possible now with this development in the region. Yeah.
Do you think that this signing will jeopardize and also worsen the relations between our countries?
If I think this, yeah. Sorry, can you repeat? Can you repeat your question, please?
Okay. Do you think that this signing will worsen and also jeopardize the relations between our countries?
No, I don't think so, because we are living now in a new order, and the interests is govern, if you want, the relationship between countries. And even that Emirates signed an agreement, a peace agreement or normalization agreement with Israel, this will not affect, if you want, its relationship with other countries, like as Kuwait, or like as Syria, or like as Egypt or Libya or Tunisia. It's still, we'll come back to the first square, if you want, is still under the sovereignty of the country, of the state. So let's take example Turkey, for example. Turkey has a relationship with Israel, has diplomatic relationship with Israel. There's an Israeli embassy in Ankara. There's a Turkish embassy in Tel Aviv. I mean, even between Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, we know that relationship now, it's not in good. They are not in good relationship, but they are still have diplomatic relationship. So what I would like to say by here, that the interests govern the relationship between countries.
Thank you very much for a nice answer.
Thank you, Ihab.
Yes, so I have a question.
Please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, for the
Who's speaking?
It's Ali speaking.
Ali, go ahead.
Yeah. Normally, the international communities, it's very rare for them to be moved over issues happening in the Gulf region. But since the agreement of this peace agreement, their reactions is not been known. What could be the reason? Is there any anything that is fishy about the agreement, or they have vision that this agreement, there is no future for this agreement of this.
Ali, you mean reaction of whom?
The international communities, I mean.
But well, we had a reaction from the international community. So until now, nobody condemned this agreement of normalization except Palestinian Authority officially. Okay, and of course Iran and Turkey, by the way. But Turkey, we have a question also. The question is how or why, because Turkey has already a relationship with Israel. So if Turkey decided to withdraw its ambassador from Abu Dhabi because United Arab Emirates signed an agreement with Israel, so the question is Turkey also has a relationship. So we have Iran, we have the Palestinian Authority, and we have Turkey who condemn this agreement. On the other hand, the international community, especially the Europe and the United States and even Canada here, they support this agreement in terms of they support it in terms of that they would like to see peace in the region, and they hope that this agreement will bring peace to the people in this region. Okay, and the third category, we talked about it a few minutes ago. They did not open their mouth. Nothing. I mean, they did not say that we support or that we condemn this agreement. Like as, for example, some Arab countries, like as some regional and international organization in the region, GCC, League of Arab States, and OIC. So, if your question why they did not, nobody react, especially from the Arab world of Muslim world. So my answer will be at the same time, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, my answer will be they would like to respect, I think, the sovereignty of each country. They don't want to interfere in the in interior affairs of United Arab Emirates of Bahrain, because they don't want that United Arab Emirates or Bahrain interfere in their own interior affairs. So this is the idea, I think. Look at the position of Qatar, for example. We know that Qatar, since the 5th of June 2017, has a trouble, crisis with other countries in the region, like Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and Bahrain. Personally, I did not hear any declaration from Qatar regarding this agreement. They did not condemn it, they did not support it. The reaction was presented officially by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who is Lulu Khatir, and she said that Qatar, the position of Qatar, Qatar is part of the Arab League, Qatar is part of the Arab Initiative, and we will support this initiative, and we will sign a peace agreement with Israel when Palestinian people take their own rights. So this is the position of official of Qatar, for example. Even Saudi Arabia did not say anything about this agreement. They did not support it. They did not condemn it. Okay, and to continue my answer, because Saudi Arabia is a key actor in the region. Personally, I don't believe that United Arab Emirates and Bahrain signed this agreement without a green light from Saudi Arabia. You know, if it doesn't green light, at least without informing Saudi Arabia. That means Saudi Arabia knows that Emirates and Bahrain will sign before they decided or they take part or action or to sign this agreement. Yeah. Thank you, Ali, for your question.
Okay.
Abdurrahim.
Yes, I think there is 10 minutes left.
Yes. I see here. I see here. We have Abdurrahim. Abdurrahim, do you have any question?
I believe you can ask directly to Dr. Jamal. Abdurrahim, you can unmute yourself and speak directly to Dr. Jamal.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes.
Hello, sir. My name is Abdurrahim, and I'm a student in Sabah al-Din Zaim. Actually, my computer has some problems, so that's why I can't open the camera.
Okay, no problem.
My question was the issue of AXA. Now there is a lot of pressure on this case or this subject that we all support, and especially for the Quds and AXA. And actually, I have a lot of courses about the AXA, and I learned that even in the social media, there's something they won't make it as a normalization or something. It's not for all Muslims. They say it's only for Palestinians people, but I think it's for all Muslim. It's a case that we have to support as all of Muslim countries. So, what kind of support that we can do as a persons or as students to make this subject global, or to make people know about AXA and its information? And my second question is how the boycott movements are useful, and what we can do also in this subject.
I did
Actually,
not,
in this
I did
basic,
not,
I
I did.
hope you understand.
Abdurrahim, the second question, please. Can you repeat it?
My second question is about the boycott movements that are in European and American countries. Are they
Mm.
useful? And if they are useful, how we can make more strong, or we can support these movements? That I want to ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdurrahim. Well,
Thank you.
regarding your first question, actually, how you can, or how we can as community, uh, uh, yeah,
Okay.
to support Jerusalem or Quds or Al-Aqsa, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, the Mosque of Al-Aqsa. I think you already do that. I mean, uh, in working with association and working with community, like as a student community in the university, or even other association or NGOs, etc., etc. You are doing what you have to do, if you would like to say that. I lived in Turkey for 8 months, maybe, when I was working at TRT World. And I know that in Istanbul, in Turkey in general, and Istanbul in particular, actually, you have a lot of NGOs uh, that work to support Palestine, Jerusalem, Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa, by preparing, maybe supporting people, by uh, aiding people, helping them, etc., etc. So this is what you can continue to do. For the your second question, if the boycott is successful in Europe and in America and the West, well, I cannot answer this question because I don't have an answer actually. But if I can answer, I will answer from my own observation, because I lived a long time in Europe and now I'm in North America. So uh, I believe that in Europe, as I was based in France for a long time and in UK as well. So also in these countries, they have some association, NGOs, Muslim NGOs who worked to support the idea of boycott Israeli goods, etc., etc. But if it's successful or not, I cannot judge it actually here, because I don't have a statistic. I don't have idea about that exactly. So maybe you can have answer of this question if you can consult some association which peut-être maybe uh, publish statistic about that. Thank you for your question, Abdurrahim. Maybe other question you have? Other
Yes,
people?
there is time left. You can ask one other question before we end this section. This session.
Uh,
Okay, sir. I believe there are no question from the participant.
Well, what I believe, let me tell you what I believe, Salman. I believe the participants we have today, we have two options. The first one, they are shy. They don't want to take the mic and ask question because they are shy. But I don't think so. So I will go for the second option. The second option, they are tired because it's the end of the day. It's 5:30 now in Istanbul, and it's Friday, so it's the weekend. So they are tired and they don't want to ask questions or to make comments. So I would like to thank you very much to be here, to participate in this discussion, and hopefully we can maybe continue cooperating in the future. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. As we end the Q&A session for today's discussion, it means that we will soon end the program. So I want to thank in advance for Dr. Jamal for your time to participate, to joining and give your thoughts and your answer comment on this discussion. I believe your sayings is very useful for us. Is broaden knowledge of many of us. And once again, thank you very much, and we are grateful to have you in this program. So before we end the program, as the new semester for university began, the executive member of CIGA Student Society will change. The current executive member will change to a new executive member that will go through the election. And our president of the CIGA, or Central for Islamic and Global Affairs Student Society, Mr. Ali Jawo, have some things to say to us. So let's turn the floor over to Ali Jawo as the president of CIGA Student Society. Ali, you can open your camera and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, Dr. Jamal, on behalf of the CIGA Student Society, I want to profoundly thank you for your taking your time out of your busy schedule. I understand it is early in the morning in Montreal, in Canada, but despite that, you take your time to honor our invitation, and then that really means a lot to us. And it shows how much passion you have for inculcating knowledge to young people, and we are very, very grateful for that. And to all the participants, we thank you for participating, and inshallah, we look forward having you in our subsequent activities, in our subsequent seminars as the semester starts. And as the moderator mentioned, Salman, leadership is all about service, and it's not a career. So the CIGA Student Society is about to conduct another Congress, and we will be announcing the flyer as soon as possible. And for all new students in this semester, we invite you to come and join us in CIGA. CIGA is a society that actually empower young people, empower students in Zaim University, not only in Zaim University, and other universities in Istanbul, to that empower those students through academic excellence and professional competence. So we invite you to join CIGA. Inshallah, you will learn a lot from CIGA Student Society. And if you want to join the society, Salman just sent our email. You can send an email to us. To a number, we will add you to our WhatsApp group. And then for those for the present members who wants to contest for any of the positions in CIGA Student Society Executive, you can send an email to us. To either myself too, you can send me a message directly to me, and then I will respond. Inshallah, the flyer will be out probably by next week, and we hope that you can take responsibility and seek a student society. So once again, I thank you all for participating, and of course, I look forward having you all in our subsequent activities. And Dr. Jamal, once again, we thank you so much. We thank you so very much for actually this seminar, and we are so much grateful for you.
Ali,
Inshallah.
thank you very much. It was my pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Salman. Thank you, everyone participated with us today, and have a nice weekend. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay, all the participants, as we end the program, thank you very much for your participation, and hope to see you without any circumstances, distant circumstances. We hope this pandemic will over soon, and we can see you face to face, inshallah. And thank you very much for participation. Have a good day to you all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.